Yeah, we saw the guys from Cartoon Angle. They moved up the date of the show. I think it's tomorrow. Or is it tomorrow? Maybe that's today. It was tomorrow. I think miscounted mics, so down just ones. Yeah.
It's about LA, right? It's the traffic. I'm late because of the traffic. Glozell was in the hallway.
You know, you're actually the one guy who does live in LA on the panel, so you would understand LA traffic.
Yeah. What's that? Yes, I did actually just run down the hallway. I'm a little sweaty.
You're in amazing shape. You're not even breathing hard.
Yes, well. I've been sucking in for 72 hours straight.
All right, well, let's go ahead and begin then. Welcome everyone to the Do I Have to Live in Los Angeles panel. My name is Burnie Burns. I'll be the moderator of this panel. Way back in 2002, before there even was a YouTube, I started what is now the longest running web series in the history of the internet. It's a show called Red vs. Blue. Eventually joined YouTube, and we now have one of the biggest channels on YouTube. Last week we were number 7 most watched on the Tube Filter list. We have 5.7 million subscribers and have about 2.5 billion views on the main channel.
That is huge.
Thank you very much. And so what we're going to be talking about today is, do you have to live in Los Angeles to build an online entertainment career? Everything that we've done at Rooster Teeth, we did from our home base in Austin, Texas. We have a great panel here today that come from all walks of entertainment and from all different places all across the globe. Our first panelist, to my left, to your right, if you can keep score at home. Our first panelist was among the first wave of standout vlogging stars, and he has been a staple of the YouTube platform ever since. And while growing his personal media empire of over 2 million total subscribers, he also took time out of his busy schedule to co-found Maker Studios, which has empowered a whole new generation of creators. He's inspired us with his comedy, his good, clean family fun, and in recent years, his amazing fitness transformation. Please say hello to Mr. Shay Carl.
Thank you guys for coming.
And Shay, you were actually one of the first, if not the first, YouTube star or online entertainment star to pick up your family and move to Los Angeles. Is that correct?
Yeah, I'm trying to think back who was in LA when I moved out there. I think Justine may have lived in LA, Alpha Cat lived like in Thousand Oaks, and Lisa Nova were like among the few.
Where was Phil?
Phil was in Atlanta at the time, and then when I moved to LA, he was like on this road trip where he was like circumnavigating the country, like visiting people, and he stopped in LA for one of the meetups, and we were there. I'm like, dude, you gotta move to LA, we're gonna start this thing. And so I convinced him to move out to LA, and then he stayed in LA on the road trip, and then me and Phil flew back to Atlanta, packed up his stuff, and then drove it out to LA.
Wow.
So it was, I sucked him in.
I guess,
and now
I guess
he's
we
still
know where
here.
you stand on this panel then.
Yeah, you have to live in Los Angeles.
My job.
No, I don't necessarily agree with that, but we'll get to that.
Yeah. Our next panelist you will undoubtedly recognize as one of the most trusted names in tech journalism. She is best known as the host of the long-running show Techzilla on Revision 3, and as a Twitter star where she has over 1.7 million followers. In addition to Revision 3, she has done video work for Gizmodo, CNET, Discovery Networks, Twit with Lee Laporte, Tech TV, Pop Sugar, BBC America, and I will physically run out of breath and pass out talking about her career. Please say hello to Miss Veronica Belmont.
In 2006. They were a breakout hit with Chad Vader. Do the voice.
Hello.
Is it a song? It's very barely. Get on up on it.
Hello.
Yeah. That wasn't a very good example. He has a very good Darth Vader, but he's not going to show you.
All right, I'll do a longer one. You have failed me for the last time.
Where are you guys from?
Madison, Wisconsin.
Wisconsin. Not an entertainment hub. And they, but because of that, I think they've innovated a lot in the way that they make stuff. They're the hosts of Beer and Board Games, which is one of my favorite YouTube shows. If you're my age and have my temperament, then and on my gender, I feel like I guess you got a lot of then
Yes.
you are likely to really enjoy this show. I have been on it. I have been very drunk on it. And it's a requirement. And I think that because you guys are sort of sheltered a little bit, it's sort of, in a way, it has fostered some innovation on your channel, which is really quite cool.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's allowed us to sort of keep our own perspective and you know, just make shows that really appeal to us and appeal to the audience that we've developed over the last 6 or 7 years.
Okay, well, really quick, you found out about us. We want to find out a little bit about you as well. How many of you currently live outside of Los Angeles? Wow. What's the furthest away that anyone has come to be here today? Who thinks of the furthest? What do you got back there? Transylvania? Get a wooden stake! That would have been awesome. Anybody further away than Pennsylvania? Anybody outside the U.S.? What's that? Scotland. Anyone further away than Scotland that we can understand?
Australia's about as far away as you get.
All right.
Any New
All the other
Zealanders?
Australians, people are like, well, yes, me also.
You may have won.
New Zealanders.
New Zealand. Oh, there is a New Zealander. Their most hated rivals.
We need a leg wrestle right up
No, I
here.
feel like New Zealand is technically closer.
It is, technically.
Oh, you're right.
Depends on which
But you
direction you
can't
go.
fly straight
Depends on
from
which
there. So
direction.
it's a longer flight, but it's closer.
Anyone from the moon? Anybody?
Moon
Mars.
people.
There we go.
Oh, there's several moon people.
You're lying.
The first crowd.
And how many of you consider yourselves to be YouTube creators as well? Great, okay. Well, panelists, let's start with this. Obviously, for radio, television, film, news, just about everything else, LA and New York are two major hubs where there is a constant draw to go to those places in order to start or continue a career in entertainment. Do you feel the same draw in online entertainment as well?
When I was thinking about being on this panel, what I would say, LA was just a place where, you know, traditionally it was the place to go if you wanted to be an entertainer. And then when YouTubers started making YouTube videos, they were for entertainment purposes and for connecting and communicating. It was just happenstance that I moved to LA because the people that I were talking to that I was going to collab with, namely Lisa Nova and Danny Diamond, lived in LA. And they originally had moved out to LA to get into the entertainment industry. They were, you know, constantly going on auditions. Lisa Nova, you know, she auditioned for Saturday Night Live. You know, her boyfriend Danny was in a few movies with, you know, Jason Leguizamo. So they were there. And so what I wanted to say is, you don't necessarily need to be in LA, but you need to be with other YouTubers. And that just seems like where all the YouTubers kind of like came. And that has been the oldest and best form of growing audience, in my opinion, is collaboration. Is kind of like sharing audience. It was, in the early days, Nultz wrote like a 30-page ebook that was like, if you have 1,000 subscribers, try to find somebody else with 1,000 subscribers and make a video with them. Because you're not gonna be able to go make a video with, you know, Hank and John because they've built up this huge audience. And it has to kind of be a win-win for both of you. So if you have 50 subscribers and you find somebody else with 50 subscribers, maybe these are two different 50 groups of people, you bring them together and then hopefully you can grow your audience that way. So even if you don't live in LA, I know that there's a little contingent of YouTubers all over the world. Like Corey Vidal started a YouTube company called Apprentice A, just based off of people that lived in Toronto. So you don't have to be in LA, but it helps. Like there's definitely been times where it has been helpful for me to be in Los Angeles, just because you're closer and things pop up last minute that you wouldn't have had a chance to do if you weren't able to, like, yes, I want to do that. For instance, I got the opportunity to be on the American Music Award red carpet, interview 50 Cent, and that was like 2 days before. They're like, hey, somebody dropped out, can you do this? I was like, yes, I want to meet 50 Cent, because I'm a thug. 50, oh, I call him 2 quarters, but okay. 50.
And Veronica, you probably have the most experience of anyone in this room in traditional media. Do you have special pull to come to LA? Do you feel the pressure more than the average person?
Yeah, I guess a little bit. I mean, it kind of depends on what you want to do. Like myself, I have no designs to be an actress or an actor of any kind. So I think maybe if you're going to YouTube to kind of get into that space, it probably makes a lot of sense for you to be in LA. But for someone like me, I do hosting, I do voiceover, I do stuff, live streaming stuff. That kind of just depends. So I've been able to do it in the tech space because there's so much of that in San Francisco. And living in San Francisco, I'm able to get down to LA very easily if an opportunity does present itself. But yeah, I've definitely turned down work before because I just couldn't get to LA in time, or I was traveling too much around and I couldn't fit it into that schedule. So that's definitely a downside, but for me, the benefits of living where I want to live and also having that web video community that is based out of San Francisco is worth it to me.
Are there times where you feel like that San Francisco is mainly a home base with the amount that you travel?
Sometimes. It's mostly conferences recently. It's been nonstop pretty much all summer. But yeah, San Francisco is my home base, but I do the majority of my work there as well. So that definitely helps me stay kind of grounded there.
I tend to travel a lot for events as well, and it's like one of the downsides to living in Austin is that it's not a major airline hub. And so it's, San Francisco is great because you can get a direct flight pretty much anywhere. And you're from anywhere, even in New York, you're not more than 3.5 hours away from there. But sometimes when you have to connect, it's harder. Hank, Shay was...
Speaking of connection.
Speaking of living in the middle of nowhere.
I mean, Shay was talking about doing collaborations
There's
of
a lot
YouTube
of airline
groups.
segments, though. You get a lot of segments that way.
We have 4 flights out of we have 5 dates. We actually have a nonstop to LA 2 times a week now. It's really weird. Like,
Because of Hank Green.
Hank has to fly the plane.
It's almost always full, which is great. It means they'll probably keep it. But if I have to be leaving on a Tuesday or a Friday, if I want to get it nonstop.
So being based in Montana, what are the special challenges that you deal with? I mean, Shay was over here talking about a YouTube group that's there, that's people in Toronto. Is there a YouTube group for people that are based in Montana?
Well, there are YouTubers in Missoula. Most of them I brought there. I hired Michael Aranda, who is a really fantastic cinematographer and video maker and general creator, also a musician, and he has a lot of skills. His signature is really great. If you don't know, he's beautiful. And Stefan Chin, who is a longtime YouTuber. I also hired and brought out Matthew Gatos. I hired to work in my warehouse, who is someone who, very small-time YouTuber, 1,000 regular viewers. Not that small-time, but it's great to have brought those people to sort of. That's not like an option for anyone else, which I realize. To be like, yeah, I'm gonna start a YouTube community here. I'll just pay a bunch of people to move to my town.
That's how you be successful. Buy your way into it.
But I will say that when I started my company, my production company in Missoula, it wasn't hard to find really great editors, really great writers. Finding, when I did the Bennett Diaries, no way would I do that out of Missoula. Trying to find, it's just so hard to find great actors and actresses who fit. I guess in LA you just get so many choices, and it's hard if you want that many options, then you can't do it anywhere else. So with a fiction-based project, but with my nonfiction stuff, we started 2 channels that have both been very successful. That were just people I knew in Missoula, and they are interesting, and they have interesting. The Brain Scoop, which is about a cute young girl who dissects animals, and Sexplanations. This is a professor at the university who teaches human sexuality and stuff. And so those are just people who live in my town, and it's a town of 60,000 people. It's not a lot of people. It is a university town, so we have lots of cool people. But 60,000 people is a lot of folk, and YouTube is really about it's not about trying to find the perfect person. It's about trying to find a real person, to be a real person that people connect to. And so I was able to, just find great editors are around. Find great editors, hook them up with these personalities who have interesting jobs and interesting thoughts and know a lot of cool things, and provide them with a way to sort of understand this new medium faster than they would on their own. Give them a leg up with help from Nerdfighteria, and that's been really great. That's been really successful. And unfortunately, Emily's show got so successful that freaking Field Museum bought her show and moved her to Chicago. So that is a hit to our community. But yeah.
Is that a common problem that you deal with in the places where you are, that if you work with someone and you have some level of success, that they themselves feel the draw to go to Los Angeles?
I mean, So I felt the draw to go to LA a lot more a couple of years ago when it was, when I really felt like there was so much going on that I was missing out on. Now I feel like if I had any more opportunities, I'd break, right? So I'm super happy to be away from it so I don't have to like be saying no all the time. It's a lot easier to say no. It's like, well, you know, I could get on a day-long flight to LA, do this thing, and then fly. I had an opportunity to do that thing with Matt Damon. That's the only thing I regret.
So handsome.
That's the only thing that I was like, oh, if I lived in LA, I just would have drove down on the YouTube space. But, oh man. Someday, I will.
I'll introduce you to him. He's like, I'll text him. Hold on. Matt, Hank wants to hang out. Okay, he'll call you later.